Okay, let's dive into this because, there's a massive misconception in software engineering that writing the code is somehow the finish line. We literally picture a developer just typing away, hitting save, and boom, job done, right? But the actual truth, a brand new feature has absolutely zero value when it's just sitting there on a developer's local laptop. I mean, none. It only becomes valuable when it reaches real users safely, reliably, and repeatedly. Writing the code, that is literally just the very beginning of the journey. So welcome to this explainer. Today we are completely demystifying that invisible pipeline, the one that takes raw code from a local laptop and transforms it into a living, breathing production system. We're going to strip away the mystery and look at how professional teams actually move code safely out there in the real world. Here's our map for today. We'll start with how the journey begins, look at quality gates and integration, then explore environments and going live. After that, observability and incident response, and finally, the human side of all this. Let's jump right in. All right, Section 1, the journey begins, and it all starts with local development. Now, it might sound super obvious, but this whole incredible journey, it actually starts right on the developer's desk. Honestly, a strong local developer environment is the very first sign of true engineering maturity. We've all been there, right? A new engineer joins the team and spends like 3 whole days just trying to get the app running locally. It's a nightmare and it's a sign of a weak system. The best teams out there, they invest heavily in setup scripts and containers to completely remove that friction. It lets developers start running and debugging code instantly. And this brilliantly illustrates what we're talking about. Let's follow a running example today, an AI-powered course recommendation feature for an e-learning platform. Look at this timeline. Day 1, the developer writes it locally. By day 2, it's in a pull request being reviewed by peers. Day 3, it hits the staging environment for testing. By day 4, we are cautiously rolling it out to just 5% of real users in what we call a canary release. And then by day 5, it's 100% live. It's basically a structured hero's journey, taking code and transforming it into a live product in just under a week. Which brings us to Section 2, quality gates and integration. So what exactly happens the exact moment our developer actually commits that AI feature to Git? Well, this is where continuous integration, or CI, steps up to the plate. Before a human even glances at the logic, automated checks take over entirely. We're talking code formatting, automated unit tests, security dependency scans, and finally, build and artifact packaging. This entire automated process exists to answer one very specific, absolutely crucial question. Does this new code actually work with the rest of our system? Moving on to Section 3, environments and going live. It's time for deployment. Okay, so our code has passed the quality gates, but before it reaches any actual users, we have to talk about environments. You can see the stark difference here between local and production. That famous excuse we've all heard, well, it worked on my machine. That happens because of environment drift. Things just aren't the same. Modern teams use infrastructure as code to make absolutely sure these environments are identical, which drastically reduces those nasty deployment surprises. On top of that, secrets and configuration literally must be completely separated from the codebase itself. The exact same application artifact should be deployable anywhere, whether it's staging or prod. Only the configuration should change. And listen, you should never, ever hardcode API keys or passwords. Just don't do it. Mature teams rely on dedicated tools like HashiCorp Vault or AWS Secrets Manager to handle this stuff securely. So how do we actually go about deploying this thing? Well, one highly effective strategy is a blue-green deployment. Basically, this means keeping 2 identical environments running. Let's say the blue one is currently live and happily serving your users. We deploy our brand new AI feature to the green one. We test it thoroughly while it's completely isolated. Then, once we are confident it's solid, we simply flip a switch and route the network traffic over to green. If anything goes sideways, no problem, we just switch the traffic right back to blue. It practically eliminates downtime and gets the team ready for instant, stress-free rollbacks. Another seriously powerful tool in the arsenal is the feature flag. This is where code is technically deployed to production, but physically hidden from users until a toggle is actually flipped. This is huge because it fundamentally separates deployment from release. So our e-learning AI feature, it can be safely pushed to the live servers on a random Tuesday, but the product team might not actually turn that feature flag on for users until Friday morning. It just gives you incredible control over the whole shebang. And when we do finally turn it on, we don't just blast it out to everyone all at once. No way. With a canary release rollout, we enable the AI feature for just 5% of users in phase 1. We sit back and watch our monitoring tools. If error rates stay low and engagement looks healthy, we expand it to 25%. If the system remains stable, boom, we push to 100%. It's basically highly controlled, observable risk management. So the crucial point is, deploying the code itself is really only half the battle. Database schema changes are often way more dangerous than code changes. Think about it. You can easily roll back a broken container, but rolling back a dropped database column, that is an absolute nightmare. That's exactly why teams use migration tools like Flyway or Liquidbase. Instead of just renaming a column and breaking everything, you add a new column, write to both, migrate the data over, and then only drop the old column later on. Backward compatibility is absolutely the golden rule here. Now, before we leave this deployment phase, let's clear up some heavily confused terminology: continuous delivery versus continuous deployment. With continuous delivery, which you see on the left, the pipeline does all the heavy lifting to prepare the release, but a human still has to physically push the final button to approve the deployment. This is perfect for highly regulated domains. Continuous deployment, on the right, means every single change that passes automated tests goes straight to production automatically, no human intervention. That is usually reserved for highly mature digital companies that have incredibly robust testing and rollback procedures in place. All right, moving to Section 4, Observability and Incident Response. Because let's face reality here, things will eventually break. It's just a matter of time. So how do we actually monitor our AI feature once it's out there in the wild? Well, we have to monitor two very distinct things. On the left, you've got technical metrics, things like CPU usage, memory, request latency. But look over at the right side, business metrics. A technically healthy server means absolutely nothing to your company if your users can't actually purchase a course. If your CPU is perfectly normal but checkout conversions suddenly drop to zero, you've got a massive production incident on your hands. You absolutely must monitor both. Now, what's really interesting about this is seeing how the three pillars of observability actually break down during a real checkout failure. Imagine a user clicks buy now and it just fails. Where do you even look? Well, logs give you detailed text records like an exact validation failed error message. Metrics give you numerical trends, showing maybe a sudden massive spike in payment latency. And traces? Traces show the entire journey of a single request across multiple microservices. That immediately reveals that an external third-party payment provider is the specific component dragging everything down. Used together, these three tools completely eliminate the guesswork. And when a failure is bad enough that it forces a rollback, modern teams rely on what's called a blameless postmortem. Basically, instead of grabbing pitchforks and asking, who caused this, they ask, what allowed this failure to happen? The goal isn't to punish the developer who accidentally deployed a bug. The goal is to fix the underlying systemic fragility that allowed that bug to reach production in the first place. Did we lack a specific automated test? Was our monitoring just way too slow to catch it? We fixed the system, not the person. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the human side. Software delivery pipelines are heavily automated, but at the end of the day, they are still built, operated, and monitored by actual people. Concepts like DevOps, DevSecOps, and platform engineering, they all exist for one primary reason: to break down isolated silos. In the old days, developers wrote code and literally threw it over a metaphorical wall to QA, who then tossed it over to operations to deal with the deployment. It was incredibly slow, chaotic, and totally lacked context. Today, these disciplines promote shared ownership. That means security is embedded from day one, and platform engineers pave roads to make the developer's journey as smooth and communicative as humanly possible. To kind of wrap up the mechanics of all this, consider these 10 common mistakes as your cautionary tales. Things like large, infrequent releases and manual deployments, they literally invite human error. A lack of automated tests makes every single code push a total gamble. Ignoring environment management, hard-coding your secrets, or just tacking security on at the very end pretty much guarantees breaches and nasty surprises. And honestly, if you have poor observability, no rollback plan, ignore your database risks, or simply communicate poorly across your team, even technically flawless code releases can ruin a user's day. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, tracing a feature all the way from a local laptop to a fully monitored live production environment. And I really want to leave you with this thought. The purpose of this journey is not bureaucracy. The purpose is confidence. A highly structured pipeline transforms the sheer terror of deployment into just a boring daily routine. So ponder this for a second. When you look at your own software delivery lifecycle, are you operating out of fear or total confidence? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.